Now, thousands of people in Georgia have protested for 3 consecutive nights now over a bill they say is inspired by laws used in Russia to crush dissent. The law would force non-government organisations and media outlets that get more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as an organisation serving the interests of a foreign power. It's seen as a major test of whether Georgia will move closer to the West or to Russia. This as the EU considers the country's bid for full membership. Let's speak now to the President of Georgia, Salome Zurabishvili. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. And I wonder, first of all, just to be clear, you're opposed to the proposed law, is that right?
Exactly. And I'm going to veto it as soon as the third hearing will be finished. The veto will be overruled probably because it needs the same amount of votes as the first hearing. So there is no chance that the majority will rescind on that. But it's very important because I'm the voice of the people that have been protesting. This veto is very symbolic. It is to show that it cannot be and it cannot become the destination and the direction that Georgia is taking to copy laws that are taken by Putin and by Russia.
Right. So just to be, so you're saying you will veto the law, but in effect it's a symbolic veto because it can still go through. Is that right?
Yes, it is. But we have another possibility, which is later on, because we're going to have elections in October of this year. So that will be the test case for Georgia to be able to repel not only this law, but all the laws that have been taken recently and that go against the recommendation that the European Union has been presenting to Georgia in order for us to be able at the end of the year to open the negotiations with the European Union, which is a very important step.
Right, and it is important. And the President of the European Council is saying that this law is not consistent with your EU aspiration. It's taking you further away, they say, rather than closer to the EU.
That's exactly. All our European partners, and Charles Michel certainly has said that, but also all the other European partners and the ambassadors here, and also the State Department, which has been supporting the statements made by the European Union, all of them, 9 statements made by the State Department to support the European Union. So all of our partners and friends are saying, don't take this law. And the only ones to appreciate it and to compliment the Georgian authorities are Russian representatives from the Duma, Peskov, the speaker. So that's very clear what it is, where it comes from, and what it is that the Georgian people do not want.
Right, but the fact is the political leaders of your country are taking you closer to Vladimir Putin than they are to the EU, and you can't really do anything about it.
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can, because there is, as I mentioned, 80% of the Georgian population that towards the European Union. When last year in December we received the status of candidate, it was a total consensus and enthusiasm in the population. And that's what I count on, and they can count on me. So we're going towards the elections. There are going to be protests on the way. We know that we cannot change what is a majority currently in the parliament, but that doesn't mean that there cannot be a statement wish of the people, and that's what is important at this stage.
Yes, so we're seeing the protests, but I guess the protests don't necessarily mean that when it comes to the election, the ruling party would lose. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what is clear today in Georgia is that there is a majority of the people that do not want to see reconducted a majority that has been governing this country for 3 legislatures, and especially if they're turning towards Russia. That will be the main point of contention. And these elections will be really, do we want Europe or do we want Russia? And on that question, I have no doubt what the answer of the Georgian population will be.
You think that will be the clear choice at the election? I'm just interested to know whether are you calling for more protests, for bigger protests?
I'm not calling for protests. There have been the spontaneous reaction of the Georgian people, and especially of the younger part of the population that until now was not very politically involved. And suddenly we see the streets taken over by the young generation. And that is exactly because they have a feeling that somebody is stealing their European future, and that somebody is stealing their European future under the pressure of Moscow, which clearly is playing a geostrategic game in this region, in the Caucasus, which they do not want to lose to, how they see it, to the European Union.
Yeah, Madam President, we have 20 seconds. What would be the consequences if you did end up moving closer to Moscow?
That would be a tragedy for Georgia.
OK, Madam President, thank you very much indeed for being with us this evening. Appreciate you coming on the programme. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.